your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just the
Duo.
Of feathery brethren, weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Both and Zach kicking it cooler than
Two.
When still Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Bullshit and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping.
We
their
are
wings
going
on.
to rip out the hearts of other podcasts. We are going to bite off their eyeballs. We're going to start every segment watching the scene from The Last of the Mohicans where the guy takes a bite out of the other guy's heart. We may not be good, but we're going to be nasty. We're going to reflect the blue-collar nature of this scene. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends on a Tuesday afternoon. Bo Wulf, Marissa Dunn, Zach Berman. Zach, how is your taco soup recipe?
That is a reference to Nick Sirianni, for those who don't understand. I do like taco soup. I haven't made it. I should make it. And as Nick Sirianni alluded to, probably put some more Fritos in it so the kids like it. Is that correct?
I think you said Fritos on the side.
Fritos on the side.
We're going to be pedantic.
Okay. Yes. But Nick Sirianni referenced that as a way of discussing how they self-scout. That you're trying to look at what you do and get better at it and perfect it, just as he's perfecting his taco soup, which his wife enjoys, but his children don't.
Was that like music to your ears, Zach?
Yeah, I think it's a really good reference. It's something that will get into a notebook on The Athletic. And it's and I think anytime you can humanize the coach, right? It's what's the magazine, Us Weekly? They're just like us, or people might, is it Us Weekly? They're just like us.
Yeah, like the stars are just like us.
Yeah. They go grocery shopping. Or, it's the same thing. And
if you had to guess, how many times a year do you think Sirianni makes the taco soup?
What's the over-under? I'll go over-under. Like, if you give me the over-under, I'll tell you if I think over or under.
I think the over-under is 1.5.
Oh, I think over on that.
I'm going to base it off how many times Michael cooks a year, and it's got to be under 5, I'd say.
I mean, he's eating at the cafeteria most of the time. We know that. And during the off season, when he's not in the building, he's probably traveling a bit with the family, right? So he's not. I can't imagine he's home for lunch too often. But
that's a dinner meal.
Yeah. Okay. Or home for
and like a winter dinner meal. That's not like
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like most of his off time is summer. He's not busting out a taco soup in July.
Yeah, you have a taco soup in July.
Taco gazpacho.
I mean, it's a good question here. Probably look in February, maybe his wife gets to go out for a night. He has the kids. He needs to make something quickly.
That's one.
It's an easy thing to make. Okay, there's one, and then another time, Saturday night before a game or something, or Friday night before the game, he has the kids home. He's making tacos. I mean, not Saturday night because they're in the building on Saturday night. So Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to think like how many times is he really cooking dinner, and then whatever that is, like, is taco soup the only arsenal, the only thing in his arsenal, or does he have like 3 things that he can make?
This is why I wish there were follow-up questions, right?
Are you a big soup guy?
A very big soup guy. Yes. Well, I mean,
too.
not literally big, but yeah, I am a soup guy. Yes.
All right, let's go. Let's start this podcast off the right way. Let's go.
We're
around
playoff
the
week now, right? The Eagles got the number 1 seed, and we're doing soup.
Let's do 2 rounds of a soup draft.
Okay, and our 2 rounds of a soup draft. You go. You got the number 1 pick.
I have the number 1 pick of a soup draft.
Yes.
Okay, I have an answer for that. I think the chalk answer would be a chicken noodle soup. It's like if you want a soup, when do you really need a soup? When you want something to feel good. But I think the upgrade from the chicken noodle soup, and my number 1 is a wonton soup. So I'm gonna go wonton soup, one overall. Although, are we counting pho and ramen here, or are those separate entities? I mean, I know those are technically soups, but if they count, then I would go pho number 1.
Yeah. I will weigh in on the record debate. You can have the soup debate. So.
I'm going to go ahead and discount. I know this is unfair in a soup draft, but I'm going to go ahead and discount pho and ramen because otherwise those.
I've actually never had that, so
you got some scouting to do, Marissa.
yeah, definitely.
All right,
Definitely.
Marissa, you can go number 2.
Okay. Lots of good comments in the chat. Clam chowder, matzo ball soup. But I'm going to go broccoli cheddar soup.
Broccoli
Ooh,
cheddar.
that was
What a
on my
reach.
board.
Really? Really?
Ugh.
I love like a creamy broccoli cheddar soup. Are you serious? That's so good.
So I'm going.
I didn't know that would be controversial.
Reach City.
Okay.
I'm going New England clam chowder. Okay.
A few comments about that.
Yeah, and actually, what I like is there's a place, Smitty's in Summers Point. It's a clam bar where you do half clam chowder, half New England clam chowder, half Manhattan clam chowder, so you can white. That
chowder bigamy.
Yeah, that really does it for me. And then I mean, I would go corn chowder, but can I go chowder here or
You can do whatever you want. It's your board. I mean, you could take Trey Thomas 3 overall.
I'm real happy with my New England clam chowder, number 1 overall. I will go with I don't know if chili counts as a soup, but
I was thinking about that.
That would probably be my top if it did count.
Yeah, I'm going with a chili, like
I feel like that's like is a hot dog or
vegeta-
sandwich question.
Yeah, a vegetable chili.
Vegetable.
All right, Marissa, you're up 5th overall.
Okay. We actually talked about this on a cameo. But I like a tomato soup, especially with like grilled cheese on the
grilled
side.
cheese tomato soup, classic combination.
Yes, yeah. So tomato soup will be my second pick. I hope that's not as controversial.
All right, this is tough. I gotta think. I mean, I would again. Pho and ramen are there for me, but if we're saying they don't count, I've got like a chicken soup-ish base with a wonton. I want a little bit of variety here. You know what? Maybe like a butternut squash soup. That's what I'm going to go with here.
Okay, so you knocked my broccoli cheddar and you're picking butternut squash. Those are similar, I feel like. No?
I mean, butternut squash is a better soup than broccoli cheddar. Get out of here. I mean, I just dominated this draft. This is unbelievable.
I feel very strongly about my board.
Me too. I feel like I'm going to have soup for dinner tonight now. Well, that's the other question. Is soup a meal? I'm going to go with
make
no.
it a meal?
I'm going to go with no. Unless it's like a chili, unless it's like substantial. But I need something else. Like the, grilled cheese on the side or, a salad or something else.
It depends on the size. Depends. I mean, if you have
I like
beef
soup
stew,
okay.
Chili is a meal, yeah.
I like soup as a meal. Yeah, my wife makes really good vegetable soup as a meal.
Okay. All right. Well, it is playoff week. The Eagles are in the playoffs.
Believe it or not, 8 minutes in.
Yes. And with that in mind, we send it over now to the stone cold newsman himself, Zach Berman, Mr. Chowder.
Your number 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles are off this weekend, but not off this week because the players will be in the building for the rest of the week here. They will be focusing on fundamentals. There's a lot of self-scouting. There's a lot of working on things that they would in training camp or OTAs. This is a week essentially where they are focusing on themselves. As far as health-related questions, Jalen Hurts came out of the game sore, as to be expected. Nick Sirianni said that they didn't think he could re-injure himself or further injure himself because he was playing, but he was hurting like hell playing out there, being out there. So this gives Hurts a chance to recover. And then we go to Josh Sweat, who nothing is official here, but trending in the right direction. Josh Sweat, who injured his what's so funny?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nobody's flossing on camera or anything. Don't worry about it.
That's also a reference to the press conference today, by the way.
You may have noticed that Nick Sirianni paused. If you're a sicko who watches the press conferences live or listens live, it's because he had to stop himself from laughing because a reporter didn't realize that they had their camera very close on themselves flossing.
Oh no!
In their car.
Poor Bob. Yes. No. So Josh Sweat trending in the right direction from that neck injury. That's a positive sign for the Eagles. The big news early in the week is that Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, both popular candidates on the coaching circuit. Shane Steichen, based on reports from The Athletic and from elsewhere, 3 different head coaching interviews. The Texans, the Colts, and the Panthers. Jonathan Gannon, Texans, have requested an interview there. So both those coaches are fitting time this week with the self-scouting process, but also with the interview process. Nick Sirianni said Jonathan Gannon is going to have a nicer suit than Shane Steichen. That's a reference. Gannon is a stylish man, apparently, following the footsteps of Jim Schwartz, who is well known for his style as well. But that's the news this week. A lighter week, but not an off week for the Eagles. Nor is it an off week for us. Back to you in the studio, Bo.
Zach, what are your expectations on the injured Eagles as we point towards a week and a half from now? Jalen Hurts obviously is going to play, but what are your expectations for him? I know you talked about these guys, but Lane Johnson, Josh Sweat, Avonte Maddox, do you think they will be out there in the divisional round?
Yes on Lane. Yes on Sweat. Yes on Hurts, of course. TBD on Maddox. Like you mentioned, the fact that they did not put him on IR suggests that they think there's a chance he could be back by then. Otherwise, it would have behooved them to put him on IR 2 weeks ago.
It would have been 4 weeks, right? It
would have been 4 weeks. They would have had him back for the championship game, right? So I'm going with potentially, but I don't have enough information on that to really make a strong opinion.
Okay. About the coaches, Gannon and Steichen. I think this is worthy of a longer conversation. And fortunately, we have a podcast, and so we can have that longer conversation. I guess first of all, do you think that they're both going to leave? How do you view their chances? Gannon, remind us again who he's interviewing with. The Texans,
Houston
of course.
Yes.
And
so far, that's it for
I thought he was on the Broncos list. No.
I guess he was last year. Last year,
not yet.
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Yet in terms of them putting. No, I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, I'm sorry. So Gannon for the Texans. Obviously, he was close to getting that job last year, by all accounts. What do you make of his chances? What do you make of how he would do as a head coach?
So there's a lot of smoke with Houston here, and that's certainly something to watch. I don't know what direction Houston's going to go. Yeah, there was. I mean, I remember being at the Senior Bowl last year when I kept hearing Gannon's going to get the Houston job. Gannon's going to get the Houston job, and of course there were a lot of things that went on there. Gannon did not get the Houston job. His candidacy would seem to be better this year, in that the Eagles are one of the top defenses in the NFL. Gannon's had a strong year. The Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFL. I will repeat what I said during the podcast last year, and I believe this. You're not hiring Jonathan Gannon based on his defense. You're hiring Jonathan Gannon based on his leadership ability or the personality, whatever it may be. And I feel strongly that when you hire a coach, you don't hire the scheme, you hire the person. Okay. And I did a story before last season with the premise being like, why is everyone talking about this guy as a future head coach? Right. And I spoke to people who knew him, people who played with him. And, the answer, the answer was almost uniform. He has natural leadership ability. So will he get I don't know what these owners are looking for. I don't know what Jonathan has planned for his staff, what Jonathan has planned for his, scheduling, for his overall program. What I would speculate, knowing Jonathan as you do, is that in these interviews, I imagine he's prepared. Like he knows what questions. I think I saw a reference to his interviews last year that it was almost like he knew the answers before the questions were even asked. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was a characterization people made based on on Gannon's personality. So I don't know, but I can't imagine you're hiring the scheme, you're hiring the person with Gannon.
Yeah,
as-
there's so much unknown about how
Yeah.
a head coach is going to do, and it's there are so many parts of the job that are more important than the scheme, as you say. And so, what's the staff is going to put together? What's the
Yep.
the culture that he's going to try to create? What are his overarching philosophies? And I think we agree that like Jonathan Gannon's overarching football philosophies are sound. And I think it seems like he cares about the right things. So I would be interesting. I think Houston is now Steichen is interviewing there as well. That is a rotten organization. But so are most of the open jobs right now. This is like a pretty bad slate of open jobs. I think you could make a case that Houston is maybe the second best open job because of all the assets that they have, because it's a division that is winnable, and because they're like a laughing stock right now and rightfully so, for having fired their last two coaches after 1 year. I think you probably get some built-in stability, but beggars can't be choosers.
And I would imagine that they'd probably be trending younger this time around relative to their previous coach. But I
thought that was kind of a nonsense report that was put out there, as if they're blaming the age of the guys they hired.
No, but
give me a break.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I agree with you.
I think the thing about I think the rotten thing the Texans did was firing David Culley in the first place, because I think it was very clear to everybody that this was a 1-year deal for Lovie Smith, even though they signed him to like a 4-year extension. Like, it was kind of farcical. And so if you were going to be looking to turn the page anyway, like, give Culley an extra year. I don't know.
Yeah. Now,
it's a gross place.
It was all around. It was an atypical situation last year. As far as Steichen, I don't want to say you're not looking at him for his leadership ability, because that's a big part of it. And we see that with Nick Sirianni. But I think with Steichen, a big appeal to teams will be the experience he has working with young quarterbacks, right? He's worked with Jalen Hurts here. He's worked with Justin Herbert in Herbert's rookie year. If you're a team that's trying to start over with a quarterback or fix your offense, and you're trending to that profile of offensive coordinator who's worked with quarterbacks before, that's Steichen's background, right? Steichen, I mean, like, if you look at it anecdotally, or Nick Sirianni was a quarterbacks coach who got moved over to wide receivers coach with the Chargers, almost to make room for Steichen to be the quarterbacks coach. Steichen has worked with quarterbacks for most of his NFL career, and he has experience now with two of the top young quarterbacks in the NFL. So, again, you don't hire a scheme. You don't hire someone just because they've worked for someone or with someone. I feel very strongly about that. But if you're saying let's figure out a quarterback situation, let's get someone who knows quarterbacks, who's worked with quarterbacks, Steichen has that reputation of someone who's done so. And the Eagles' offense has been very creative this year. I think his play calling has been impressive. They have answers for things. They hit a little bit of a lull in recent weeks, but they are. I've been impressed throughout the year from his play calling. And if you track the play calling going back to when we believe he took over last year, they've been one of the best offenses in the NFL since that date.
I think of the three teams that Steichen is interviewing with, Texans, Colts, Panthers, I would lay the most turkeys on the Panthers as a landing spot for him. Just looking at the other people that they're interviewing, they seem focused on young offensive quarterback people.
And I mean, without knowing the situation there, I mean, Steve Wilkes, I don't know what more he could have done during that job, right? There's a bad track record of keeping interim coaches or keeping in-house coaches, and I don't know if that's working against him. And I think I said on the podcast a few years ago that, like, my only in-person interaction with Steve Wilkes one time was on an airplane coming back from connecting Mobile to Charlotte. Yeah, and he was helping everyone with their luggage, And I thought, this is no way to base it off of, but you're talking about someone who takes like the leadership on the plane. He was the guy who, it was one of those small planes. Anyone on the plane who needed help with the luggage, Steve Wilkes was doing it. And I'm like, I took that away as that's a nice person. That's someone who has the back of everyone here. Character is what you do when no one's watching, right? I was watching, actually.
But he doesn't know you were watching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost as if he knew that was going to impress you, and he did it just for your benefit.
Well, it's a much better explanation one time. I'm butchering the details probably, but when he got hired in Arizona, Steve Keim once said, like he chatted with him on the beach at one point on vacation, and like was really impressed with him. And I mean, anecdotally, that scene on the plane said this is someone who takes charge.
Okay.
And he had more success with the Panthers this year than he did in the 1 year with the Cardinals. But that was a bad year with the Cardinals overall.
Yes, unfortunate. All right, I think more to the point for our listeners is the question of if these guys leave, how do the Eagles backfill? And that is a real problem that coaches have, is the quote-unquote brain drain. There are young coaches in the building. There are guys that Sirianni knows around the league. What are your guesses, your expectations for how they might go about backfilling both of these jobs if both guys leave?
Sirianni he said today that he has strong candidates internally and externally, which is covering all your bases, I suppose. But he's had time to think about this, right? This is not going to surprise him if one or both gets jobs. And he had time last year in particular to think about the defensive coordinator openings. Let's focus on internal candidates for a moment. I think the top internal candidates on the offensive side, Brian Johnson is an obvious name, although I think Brian Johnson's going to be popular elsewhere as well for people looking for offensive coordinators. Kevin Patullo is someone I can see. Sirianni, he's like Sirianni's right-hand man almost, and he deals with a lot right now in terms of situational stuff, right? So those would be the top two, I would say, internally on the offensive side. On the defensive side, I think Denard Wilson is the obvious name to know. I mean, he is the assistant head coach for defense, or the assistant defensive coordinator. What's the title that got added to him? But he's certainly someone to know there. I think someone has described to me in the past Nick Rallis as a future defensive coordinator in this league, but I think Denard Wilson would be the top internal
defensive
candidate.
Passing game coordinator.
Yeah, defensive passing game. Yeah, so I would definitely pay attention to Wilson, and Wilson's someone who I've heard great things about, and that secondary is playing at a high level this year. Externally, we've mentioned Vic Fangio, right? He's someone who, if they want the established guy, someone who can come in and has that type of gravitas, has been one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL the past decade. Obvious name to watch. Local, has affiliation with the team, was at training camp this year. So in theory has a sense of
He's been working for the team. He admitted it.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Offensively, the name you would hear quite a bit, of course, is Frank Reich.
I thought you were going to go with your boy first, but
my boy being who?
Tommy Reese.
Well, Tommy Reese is someone who Nick's tried to hire in the past. Okay. And Tommy Reese he's the offensive coordinator, and he's the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. That's a really good job. I don't know what I don't know Tommy Reese, but that would be someone to monitor. But I people are going to be talking about Frank Reich. I don't know what that situation would be. I don't know what Frank's options are elsewhere. I know Frank's held in high esteem in the organization, and obviously we saw it in Indianapolis this year by Sirianni. So that would be something to watch. But
also Marcus Brady on the staff, the fired Colts offensive coordinator.
Yeah, very good point. So that would be the direction I would watch. But if they decide to keep it internally, I think Johnson / Patullo and then Denard Wilson are the names I would pay attention to.
The one thing that is just sort of on my radar about like a Fangio or something like that, like an established defensive coordinator who's more of an arranged marriage with Sirianni, is that like we have heard so much, and when these guys came in, this staff was all about this youthful energy, right? And I'm not saying that Fangio wouldn't be an upgrade over Jonathan Gannon. He, I think history would tell us that he would be, but like just that mix of styles, how might that go? And so I don't know, just something that's on my radar. Like, whereas Denard Wilson has been here, I don't know what he's like as a defensive schemer or a play caller, but it's an easier transition in that sense.
Sure. But and I would imagine a lot too depends on how the Eagles finish this year. But Sirianni certainly has more, cachet or gravitas, if you will, around the league. After going 14-3, he might be the coach of the year this year. Who knows? But I think if you're an established defensive coordinator now, this is a different situation than coming in, say, 2 years ago.
Sure. All right, let's take a little break, come back, do a little getting a bird in edgewise. We open up the quail bag and answer questions from you, the valued listener. Happy New Year from our friends over at Manscaped. The ball has officially dropped, but that doesn't mean you have to drop the ball on your balls in 2023. Whether you had a New Year's kiss or not, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming have you covered for your much-needed resolution of bringing sexy back. Join the 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. With our exclusive offer, go to manscaped.com and use code BIRDS for 20% off free shipping. Let us have a toast for a new year, new you, and a new you with no pubes. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you will find the Signature Lawnmower 4.0. The advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate parts. It also comes equipped with a 4,000K LED spotlight that will shine a light to the promised land 2023 looks to be. To complete the set, Manscaped throws in their shed travel bag and anti-chafing boxer briefs as free gifts to keep all your goodies stored comfortably. Don't forget about the Crop Preserver, the Crop Reviver. It's all good stuff. These products are the absolute perfect follow-up after your New Year's gym sessions. Cheers to new balls in 2023. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BIRDS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code BIRDS. Time to feel sexy and free this 2023 with Manscaped.
Many men want a better sex life, but up to 50% of men have symptoms that get in the way of wanting or enjoying sex. Roman is here to help. Roman is the digital health clinic for men, addressing a variety of sexual health needs and offering genuine medication that helps achieve and maintain your sex goals. In men with low T, getting testosterone levels back to normal can help increase your libido. Roman offers a testosterone test, which includes lab processing, and if it's appropriate for you, treatment for low testosterone. So how does it work? First, complete an online visit detailing your symptoms and medical history. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will review your information and make a personalized treatment recommendation. Roman will ship your treatment in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping if prescribed. At Roman, there are no waiting rooms. There's no hassle. It's just a straightforward digital experience from the comfort of home. If medication or testing is appropriate, Roman will send it directly to your door. Everything arrives in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping. To learn more about how you can achieve your personal sexual health goals, go to ro.co/athletic today to get 20% off your entire first order. That's ro.co/athletic.
Do you guys have a coach growing up who used to tell you, you look good, you feel good, you feel good, you play good? We had one of those. And I think there's something to it. You look good, you feel good, you're going to perform better at whatever you're doing. Well, that's where Roan comes in.
Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man. And here's why. They've got product for every occasion. Rhone helps you get ready for any occasion with the commuter collection, which offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, 3/4 zips, quarter zips, polos, whatever you want. You never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Rhone commuter collection. It's mobile. It looks good. It's comfortable. It's got this stretchy fabric. We love a stretchy fabric. And there's odor-free technology with Gold Fusion, anti-odor technology. You'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Rhone is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. It's comfortable. It's mobile. It's flexible. It's versatile. It's Rhone, baby! The commuter collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/BWF and use promo code BWF to save 20% off your entire order. That's a big chunk of cash. That's a lot of lettuce. 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/BWF and use code BWF. It's time to find your corner office comfort. Upgrade your closet with Rhone and use BWF to save 20% off at Rhone.com/BWF.
Welcome back, Birds with Friends. Bo, Zach, and Miss Broccoli Cheddar herself. Marissa, how are you?
I'm good. I don't know how to respond to that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
me
I'm
neither.
good. Excited to hear the answers to these questions. A lot of people chimed in, so yeah,
Well,
ready to fire them off.
Let's dip our beaks. Let's jump right in. First question comes from Garrett. Zach, which free agents would you prioritize re-signing? Now, the Eagles, we have talked about, have a ton of free agents. They have more pending free agents who have played at least 50% of the snaps than any other team in the league. They have 9. I will quickly run down that list, starting in order of how many snaps they've played. Marcus Epps, James Bradbury, Isaac Seumalo, TJ Edwards, Kaiser White, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Jayvon Hargrave, Miles Sanders, and then you get to the Bob Quinn, Zach Pascal, Linval Joseph, Dominican Sue, Boston Scott, Gardner Minshew, Andre Dillard, Tyree Jackson, Brett Toth.
Jayvon Hargrave, based on the position that he plays, the production that he's had, would be the top priority. And I know, were we talking about it on air or off air? Perhaps he's priced himself out of it. I think the Eagles are going to make him a priority, even though they have Jordan Davis and Milton Williams as internal defensive tackles. I would think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would be someone to watch here. Now you're going to have to pick one of those safeties. I don't know if you can keep both. Epps would presumably be less expensive than Gardner-Johnson. I think Gardner-Johnson has more of a chance to have kind of elite ability for you, or near top of the league ability for you. And he would be a priority based on the age and the positional depth, frankly. Based on production this year, I would say Bradbury, but the Eagles are going to have to decide, do they want to have 2 30-plus-year-old cornerbacks next year, especially when they, have 3 picks in the top 61 this year at least. Actually, no, that's not true. In the top 63 this year, at least, to potentially address cornerback. And I think Bradbury has perhaps priced himself out of the Eagles because he's had a big year for them. And he signed that 1-year deal with the goal of resetting his value. I like the way TJ's played. I don't know how expensive TJ's going to be. I think you decide between TJ or Kaiser. And then I think the hardest decision they'll have is Miles Sanders, is what price do you put on Miles Sanders. But my guess is that's a position they can address in the draft.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, this will not be a surprise, but I don't think Miles Sanders is a difficult decision because there are also other good free agent running backs. And so that might actually mean that he comes back.
That's what I'm saying. It could depress his value.
Right. I think you set a number, and if it's anything more than that number, you don't worry about it. And I don't think you're committing to more than 2 years. It's just, the value of the position, especially in this offense where Jalen Hurts makes it easy, plus the draft, I think that seems pretty easy. I'm with you. I think you make a decision between TJ and Kaiser. I think the decision is probably TJ. I mean, maybe a little bit depends on where you would rather play Nakobe Dean. But I think Kaiser White's play has dropped a little bit in the second half of the season. We've talked about it before. I disagree with you on Epps versus Gardner-Johnson. I think it's more likely they keep Epps.
Based on price or production?
Based on price and reliability.
Okay.
I think there are also the intangible things where like you are rewarding internally guys in the locker room who came up through your system, you developed, you reward those guys. And I think you talk about like price in the market. I think CJ Gardner-Johnson has a better chance to sign a massive deal. And I don't think that I would give him a massive deal. And I think you're right that what you said, like, I think the guy that they would most like back is Jayvon Hargrave, but he's 30. If he's going to get a huge deal somewhere, we're still talking about, I mean, he's been awesome. He's been probably, the third or fourth best interior defensive lineman in the league this year from a pass rush standpoint, but that's still a position where it's a lot to spend. But they're probably going to lose Fletcher Cox, and they want to be stacked there. So I do think that they will prioritize him.
And where do you stand on Isaac?
I think the Isaac decision is linked to Jason Kelsey's future.
Okay.
I think if Kelsey is coming back, you let Isaac go. I think if Kelsey retires, you probably try to bring him back because you don't want to be thinking about having two new starters on the offensive line.
And, Kelsey and Fletcher Cox, and then I would include Brandon Graham in here too, have been like.
Yeah, Brandon Graham is not listed as a free agent, but his deal is going to void. So.
Have been the Eagles of the past decade, right? And the Eagles are the only franchise that they played for. When you get to this point in your career and you've only played in one city and on one team, sometimes there's that emotional value on both sides, right? You think that that any of the three would entertain playing elsewhere next year? Or do you think it's like, yeah, let's try to make something work in Philadelphia, and if it doesn't work in Philadelphia, I'm done?
I think if we
let's focus on Graham and Kelsey because Cox is younger. So let's focus.
Well, I was going to say if we accept the premise that they're all going to continue to play,
yeah, I
think that Fletcher Cox is the likeliest to play somewhere else.
Okay, yeah, I shouldn't include him there because he's younger, right? But Graham and Kelsey, let's focus on those two. Could you see Brandon Graham playing somewhere else?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe.
And you have insight, of course. You were with them last week.
Yeah, and he has been open about saying it, and Carlene said it that every time his contract has come up, they thought they were going somewhere else. They thought they were leaving, not because they were desperate to get out, but just because that was the tenor of the conversation. And we remember in 2018, Brandon Graham going around the locker room, shaking hands with all the media members saying goodbye. But at this point now, I would be pretty surprised. I'd be pretty blown over if either guy goes elsewhere. What about you?
Yeah, I can't imagine. Right. And I imagine,
I think I would somehow be more surprised if Graham went somewhere else than I would if Kelsey went somewhere else. Only because if Kelsey, they have drafted his replacement. If he really doesn't want to retire, but the Eagles are gung-ho about moving on towards Juergens, Kelsey is still the best center in the league. He can make a lot of money going anywhere. Whereas Brandon Graham, despite getting to 10 sacks, is still a rotational pass rusher. His market's not going to be as robust, and the Eagles still value that spot.
That's a good point.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
I guess along those lines, a Fletcher Cox question. Could you see Fletcher Cox taking a hometown discount and accepting being a third, the third guy, if you will, right? Or is it not in his? It's not in his DNA to do that.
I don't see that. Do you?
I don't, but we thought last year that part of the reason why he came back is because he wanted to be in Philadelphia, right? Now the Eagles paid him handsomely, but it was very much Like they cut him, and it was that wink deal. And I don't know how much Fletcher Cox wanted to look at the market. He wanted to be a part of the Eagles there, right? So now this year hasn't necessarily gone. I mean, he's been better than he was last year, right? But if they keep Hargrave, one would think that's you're deciding between Hargrave and Cox.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from Squidward Tentacles. How would you rank the playoff teams based on team names / mascots?
I'll defer to you on this one. Yeah. Like you have first choice. And
all right. Well, let's focus on the NFC to start.
Okay.
New York Giants is the worst because it's not even original. I mean, they stole it from a baseball team, so that's at the bottom. Dallas Cowboys, Minnesota Vikings, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks. I think Minnesota Vikings and San Francisco 49ers are the two best. They both have legitimate connections to where they are. Both solid mascots. I would say Seahawks is I would go Dallas Cowboys ahead of Seattle Seahawks because a Seahawk is not even a real species of bird, right? It's like
I'm assuming, it's
general
just a
type of bird.
generalization. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're the Birdman, Bo. How don't you know this?
Is that I think it's not a type of bird, but I could be wrong. So that's how I would rank those. Oh, a Tampa Bay Buck is maybe sub Seahawk. It's okay.
And are we not including the Eagles in here?
Yeah, let's not include the Eagles.
Okay.
AFC, Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens, Jacksonville Jaguars, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers. I would say Chargers last. It's just
but great logo.
Good logo.
Great logo and colors.
Actually, no,
like
Chiefs is last. Chiefs is last. Problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Chargers at 6.
I think Ravens is underrated.
Right? I agree with you.
Edgar Allan Poe, and and it's an original thing. There's no other teams in professional sports called the Ravens, right? So I like the originality to it.
I agree with that, and I think I would put. I might put it 1. I think Buffalo Bills is really good.
I don't love Jaguars.
Because there are Jaguars in Jackson.
Exactly. It's more because of the alliteration that they went with it.
Right.
And yeah.
I like Bengals too because I like that it's not. I like it that they've specified the type of tiger.
Okay, but if you don't like Jaguars, Bengals aren't indigenous to
that's true.
Cincinnati. But
so I would go Ravens, Bills. I guess Dolphins, Bengals, Jaguars, Chargers, Chiefs. There you go. All right. Jonathan asks, what % strength of Lane Johnson is enough to perform better than Jack Driscoll or a Mailata and Dillard Shift? So how many turkeys of Lane Johnson do you need to be better than Jack Driscoll?
Yeah, once again, I'm not great at this percentage thing, like X% compared to what I'll say is that Lane Johnson, as long as he can functionally block out there, right? As he's going to be playing with pain. We almost have to accept that. He has to accept that more than anything else. That's a tough injury. Everything starts at your core. As long as he can be functional out there, he's Lane Johnson. He's the best right tackle in the NFL. I would want him. I would trust him more than Jack Driscoll. And that's not a knock on Jack Driscoll. That's just how good Lane Johnson is. So as long as he can be functional out there, then I would go Lane.
Next question from Katoven. I think 76% of Lane Johnson is what I want over.
Why not 74%?
Because I'm making up a number.
That's my point. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what he asked.
Okay.
I'm trying to give him his answer. Him or her. Zach, what do you think the Eagles do with the 10th pick of the draft?
Oh, wow. I've been putting a lot of thought into this, and I would need to know what the first 9 are. I think D-line, offensive tackle, or corner. And the best player available from those three positions.
Not edge?
Yeah, when I say defensive
Defensive
line,
line. I thought you said defensive tackle. I'm sorry.
D-line. So rushing the quarterback,
Yes.
protecting the quarterback, or cornerback. Those three. I can't see that. Now, that's a wide swath. I get it. It won't be a wide receiver. It won't be a running back. I don't think it'd be a tight end that early. I don't think it'd be a safety, although Brian Branch is a good player. It's not going to be a linebacker, and it won't be an interior offensive lineman. Now, I think there are going to be some interesting corners in that range, but O-line, D-line always breaks the tie for this organization.
If you had to pick one right now, what would you guess?
D-line / edge.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I might pick tackle.
Offensive tackle. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. There's the Ohio State offensive tackle, Paris Johnson. He's coming after our hearts. He's a journalism major, writes for the school paper. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Zach, are you just like brainstorming the stories now?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's one of those things. Bo's got to, when I go and introduce myself on the first day, Bo's going to have to say, Zach, keep it professional. Keep it professional here, right? Be talking about leads and not protecting leads.
I think he should shadow you for a day and you should shadow him for a day.
That would be a visual. Yes.
All right. Last one before we go to our next break. From Carlos. Who on the team most overachieved their preseason expectations and same with underachieved?
Do you want me to go first or do you want to take it?
I think given the stakes, the answer is Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Given the importance of his overachievement, because nobody saw him being quite this good. And it was immediate. It's probably the right answer. If you're talking about not factoring that stuff in, I mean, I think the answer is probably Reed Blankenship, because he's been really good. And I think they're trying to keep him on the field. And that was not the expectation, especially if you're talking about like entering training camp. He was considered a practice squad hopeful. So,
yeah. And underachieved, or do you want me to answer overachieved?
Why don't you answer overachieved and then?
So agree with you on Jalen Hurts. That would be number one. I think I would go Hassan Reddick, and I want to go back and see. And I should ask you where you ranked him on your training camp board for performances, but there were questions about Reddick. There were questions: is he going to drop? Is he, is he going to be that type of difference maker? And Hassan Reddick has been even better than anyone could have expected. I mean, 16 sacks, to have that run he had of double-digit sacks. And I just think back, it was actually a storyline after the first two games of the season, why Hassan Reddick isn't getting to the quarterback, or is Hassan Reddick getting to the quarterback? And then it just came in waves. But for him to finish 16 sacks, to have the pressure rate that he had, Hassan Reddick, I think, is up there.
I had him in the stayed healthy category, just
okay.
Veterans who didn't really have much to prove and did what they needed to do. And then who would you say has underachieved the most, Zach?
Relative to expectations, and this is kind of, I mean, they're 14-3. They've played really well.
It's really hard to find anybody.
Yeah. I would go with the two slots. I would go with Avonte Maddox because of injury. Even though he's played real well, he's missed a good. He's been he was on IR and then he's missed these past few games. And then Quez Watkins, relative to the season that he had last year, he hasn't taken that jump, but that's because AJ and Devontae are that good. So, but it's hard. Again, it's hard to find people when you're 14-3 and the best team in the NFL.
I think the answer is Jordan Davis.
Interesting. Because
maybe this is more about like the pick that was used on him, but the idea that he was going to change the face of the defense, and like this skill set that was so hard to find. There are only so many people in the world who can do what he can do. We got to trade up to get him. Well, you signed a guy midway through the season who is 34 years old and has come in and done a better job and displaced him. And so, like, maybe it's a larger conversation about, couldn't you have just signed Linval Joseph in the offseason and used that pick on something else? Or, waited until the second or third round to get a nose tackle? Because even when Jordan Davis has been on the field and he was injured, he has not been dominant in any way. And so I think that's really the only one who has like really underachieved based on what our expectations were entering the season.
Well, I suppose based on the expectations entering the season, you probably need to say Nakobe Dean, right? Because going into camp, we thought it's a matter of time before he's the starting linebacker, and that hasn't been the case. Now he's going to be a starting linebacker next year.
But he was held out of a job, whereas Jordan Davis lost a job.
Sure.
Okay. It's semantics, but okay.
I'm still gambling on Jordan Davis going forward.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fine. Let's take our last break, come back, and finish out some questions.
Now, our next partner is a pretty cool product. Let's talk about Athletic Greens. If you're looking to get better gut health, more energy, and a stronger immune system in a really easy, natural way, you've got to check out Athletic Greens. I'm sure you'll all agree that most of us are not huge fans of having to take a bunch of pills or vitamins in the morning. But with Athletic Greens, you can get rid of all those extra vitamin bottles and finally get some room in your cabinet. Athletic Greens is an all-in-one solution that actually tastes pretty good. You'll really enjoy getting your daily vitamins. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day the right way. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All the things. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into flu and cold season. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/birds. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/birds to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/BWF. and get on your way to being your best self. When you're at your best, you can do great things, but sometimes life gets you bogged down and you may feel overwhelmed or like you're not showing up the way you want to. Working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you are more prepared to take on everything life throws at you. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's not only convenient, but it's also flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/BWF to get 10% off your first month. That's BETTERHELP.com/BWF.
Welcome back. Birds with Friends. What are you laughing at?
Me?
Yeah.
I was smiling. When you come back from break, you're supposed to smile.
You were laughing at something.
No, I was literally smiling, though.
I heard a chuckle. Marissa, what do you think? You heard it. You thought he was laughing, right?
No, I think he was like preparing to be back on screen.
Yes,
because he was
thank you,
off,
Marissa.
yeah.
Yes.
I was
exactly.
like just,
Yeah.
dozing, but he's preparing to be back on screen.
Yeah.
He's the professional.
I was reading I was catching up on the water cooler on Slack, which is the channel. Yes.
Wow. Giving away company secrets. Look at this.
Please
Watch
don't frame
out.
it that way.
All right. Back to the quail bag. Zach from Tejiza, what is your preferred time slot for next week's game? Saturday time. So basically, unless the league is going to do AFC one day, NFC the other day, if they're going to keep it split, I think it's clear the Eagles would play Saturday if the Giants or Seahawks pull an upset this weekend, and if it's the Cowboys or Bucks, they'll play Sunday because those teams play Monday night.
So the day of the week matters less to me than the time.
Yes.
I want the earlier slot. I'll admit that. I know some fans like the primetime games from a workflow perspective, from like a health of my week perspective. The early game on Saturday or Sunday.
And is it still 4:38, 1-4?
Yes,
1-4:30?
So.
So yeah, that Sunday 1 o'clock is.
That's the preference.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I would say
I can live with Sunday 4:30. I don't want the Saturday 8.
I actually prefer the Saturday 8 to the Sunday 4:30. I don't the in between of a 4:30.
Okay.
I don't like.
Okay.
I would
What
rather
time did you wrap up after this past one?
3,
Yeah,
3:30, which is not ideal. I mean, that's not. But I mean, it's a Saturday night game. I know I'm losing the night. I don't know. Just specific personal preferences.
We will have a pod no matter what time it is.
Yes,
That's exactly right. Ben Tanner
Someone
wants
asked me
to know. Go ahead.
I got a question last night. What do you do after the games? And I was explaining to the person, and he's like, "Wait, how long is the podcast?"
What do you like better? What do you do after the games, or what do you do in the off season? As a question that every person in the world asks you.
The off-season one is great.
The off-season one? Yeah.
So what do you do in the off season?
Michael gets that question a lot. He's like, what do you think I do? Like nothing? Like you think I just show up,
Making taco soup.
Yeah.
From Ben Tanner, if each Birds with Friends host was an Eagles coach or staff member, who would be who? I don't know. What do you think? I think Marissa is. Oh, what do we got there? The Berman kids.
Yeah. Yes.
Who's the person on the staff who makes everything happen? Who like without this person, the whole thing would crumble.
That's not true.
Stoutland.
That's a good one. Makes everybody
that's
better.
That's honorary one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Plus, you got
and the offensive line.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
good. That's good.
Yes.
Zach is. Who's the person on the staff who beats themselves up the most? Who takes losses the worst?
I mean, based on what Chris Long said on the podcast, it's always the special teams coordinator, right?
But that doesn't feel like Michael Clay.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't feel like Clay.
No, he said defensive line coach too, right?
Yeah,
but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'd give you Tracy Rocker either. I mean, I think you stick with Gannon, your boy.
Okay. I mean, look, the qualities that people said he had are, in my story last year, qualities that I aspire to have, right? In terms
remembering
of
people's names.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually
you have to do it for
Emily
me.
got
for myself.
I'll share this with this one personal thing. Emily was like surprised at me the other day / like I wouldn't say peeved, but more surprised when I said, what's this person's husband's name, right? Like she was talking about one of her friends, and I didn't remember the name.
Wow.
And like yeah, and usually I'm very good at that. And so she gave it back to me, like, you don't remember his name? Because I'm really good at remembering names otherwise. So I think Bo is.
Do you want to tell us who it is?
Sirianni.
Yeah. Because you'll go on tangents in the middle of an important football conversation. So.
That's good.
I can see you doing a press conference and talk about taco soup. So no, I think
soup.
Yeah. I think you are probably here. Let me think here. I saw Del Rio in the chat. That was a funny image.
Brian Johnson, because we were both very decorated high school athletes.
No.
Okay. Well.
No. Jason Michael. Jason Michael's the best arm, right? Isn't that what
Jason Michael?
When you asked Siri,
you trying to make me mad?
You asked Sirianni one day, I believe it was you, about who throws it the best, right?
Yeah, but he was. I mean, Alex Tanney has the best arm. Like, Who are we kidding?
Okay, so then you're outstanding then.
Oh, okay. You get to be the defensive coordinator, and I'm a quality control coach. I see how it is.
You're actually Bo's Laurie, because Bo's Laurie here. He can step in when he wants.
I like this in the chat from Mark. Bo and I'm Sirianni because we both get mad at tennis.
That's a good one. You guys have a lot of similarities.
That's good. All right, Zach. Following on the reporters theme from Dave, as reporters, what are your feelings heading into the playoffs? Extra juice? Do you feel pressure to put out great work in podcasts, and as intensity and stakes rise for the team and the fan base?
Yes, definitely so. And
I think you can tell from this episode, starting with Soup, that we do care about the quality of the podcast, upping its level.
Yeah, I feel very strongly about that. Now, I think every day matters, right? It's the 18th day of training camp matters just as much as week 18. But
not the metrics.
But when there are more eyeballs on you, right? When there's more attention to the team, you want to rock. You want to perform. Now, as Nick Sirianni, as Chip Kelly used to say, and I was actually listening to a podcast the other day with James Clear, is the author of Atomic Habits, right up there. And he was on the Tim Ferriss show, and he quoted this where you don't sink to your you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to your training, right? So it's kind of like that, you had to have a baseline that you hit. But I think that we have some good stories planned. I have some good ideas that I would like to pursue, and hopefully you all enjoy them.
Got my Mount Joy t-shirt on, which was a Christmas present. Just popping that for the chat. Yeah, I think that's right. I think you want to do a better job. I think there's no doubt about that. Next up, this is tough. Which regular season game, asks Jordan, in the past 10 years do you think had the most crowd intensity, and which playoff game?
Well, which playoff game's obvious? The Vikings game.
Yes, I think that's right.
Which regular season game had the most intensity?
Regular season game.
I think. Let me think here. Okay, I'll go. Now, it was raining that night, but I remember the first game after the Super Bowl. That Thursday night game.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's a lot of excitement for that one. I see Stone Cold here says 2018 opener comes to mind. That's probably the one I would go with.
I
Falcons
think that's a good
game.
answer.
Yeah.
Nothing else comes to mind, because even like in 17 and this year, most of their home games have been sort of blowouts.
Yeah.
Like there's the Jake Elliott game from 17, but the team hadn't quite earned like all of the juice just yet. But I don't know. It's tough.
I think night games
earlier.
Yeah, night games typically have more energy, more excitement to them. So I do remember there was, in terms of juice, when LaShawn McCoy came back with Buffalo, there was a lot of interest and excitement in that game. But the Eagles were kind of waning at that point in the season. When Carson returned from injury against the Colts in 2018, there was excitement, but that was an earlier game in the day. I actually think a game that had underrated excitement was the Tuesday night game last year, the COVID delay game against Washington. I remember that was a good crowd.
Okay, good answer. From France in LA, Zach, who is the last man standing in an NFC playoff coaches battle royale? So you've got Nick Sirianni, you got Mike McCarthy, you got Kevin O'Connell, you got Todd Bowles from last year, you got Pete Carroll, and you got Kyle Shanahan, and you have Brian Daboll.
Wait,
who's winning that battle royal?
Oh, just from the playoff teams. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking Dan Campbell until you said that. Well, Bowles played right? So Bowles is the only one left. Well, no, O'Connell played too. Bowles and O'Connell played. So those would be now. O'Connell's younger, but he's a quarterback. Dable and Sirianni have that Western New York in them. I would probably go with Bowles. He's the defensive back in the group. Right?
I think this is booking wise. I think this is a pretty clear scenario where Bowles is the guy who everyone's going after because he seems like the best shot. He tosses over McCarthy right away. McCarthy's a jobber. Sirianni and Dable team up. They've got they're friends. They're working together. They work together with O'Connell to eliminate Bowles. Bowles goes down as the favorite, and then Sirianni turns on Dable and throws him over. Then Shanahan is a jobber in this sense as well. He gets tossed over by O'Connell. Sirianni tosses over O'Connell. It looks like Sirianni has won, and then Pete Carroll has been hiding under the ring the entire time. Comes out, dumps over Sirianni over the top rope, and Carroll celebrates with his shirt off.
Smacking that gum. He's as old as Stetson Bennett, man. So, yeah,
that's good. Look at you. How about Zach McPherson with the Stetson Bennett age joke? Man after my own heart.
What do you say? Older than I am, I think, or
so this guy's 25 years old. I'm turning this off.
Okay.
He was right. All right. I think that's all we got for today's. One more from Matt. Peck nest migrate hurts Sirianni Roseman.
Well, the quarterback you always peck, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, you always nest. Right? It's hardest to find the quarterback of any of those positions. Howie has done it. Now, I think the GM has the most staying power though. So maybe you want to nest the GM. Like in theory, a GM could do that job for 3 decades, whereas a quarterback can, a coach can. I think a coach has.
Did you see Adam Schefter's tweet from the other day?
I did.
What did he say? He said, fun fact.
In the last 5 years, or no, I'm sorry.
The Eagles in the last 5 years has become the first team in NFL history to be the number 1 seed in the same 5-year span with a different head coach and a different quarterback. How do you think that morsel of information made its way to Adam Schefter?
The ESPN research department
is my curiosity.
The ESPN research department.
Yeah,
I'll go with that answer. I'm nesting Hurts. I'm pecking Howie, and I'm migrating Nick, I guess.
I think you have to migrate Nick, which is no disrespect to Nick. It's just the least important thing. I don't know. I think it's a defensible position to say that you would nest the general manager.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. But I just think in terms of like finding a quarterback is the hardest thing to do. When you have a quarterback, you hold on to him for dear life.
Yeah. All right. That'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. We will be back later this week. I think we're gonna have a little special guest at some point. And we continue rolling on with Soup with Friends. So for Zach and Marissa and I don't know, French onion soup, I'm Bo. We thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later this week. And as always, we love you.